All right, welcome on into the show. My name is Deny Gallagher, and I am joined by the snare cam provocateur, Mr. Game Shape himself. It's Benny Horowitz. What's up, dude?
I know what's up. It's Denny's birthday.
Oh,
Get out of town. Happy birthday, Denny.
Thank you very much.
So you briefly told me that you're finding it a little unenthusiastic. Turning this age. Why is that?
So 29, it's the 29th birthday on the 9th. Shout out to that. I don't know. There's just, you know how you get, and we've talked a bunch about this. There's just like a lot of stuff that you want to do, and you're not getting any younger. So it's not a mortality question. It's just I don't know.
Can I give you some old man wisdom?
Oh, I'd love this. This is why I wanted to talk about it.
I can say through anecdotal experience, not only of my own but other people, that your birthdays will next year you get a nice one.
Yeah.
But then after that, they continue to be less and less enthusiastic as you go on.
Okay.
Less people are going to care.
Yeah.
Truly care, like you're going to have more responsibility, people counting on you, things like that, where those people, they don't care either that much. You just got to get used to the fact that you don't care. But here's the old man wisdom part of it. It's like, once you hit this age and you start to see people drop off physically, mentally, spiritually, in so many ways, every day is your birthday.
Oh.
Every day at 30 plus is a gift from the universe that you're really not supposed to get. And every day is your birthday. So the trick to being old and happy is to calling that single day a wash.
Oh.
Because it's like just not a wash. Just lower your expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try at the bare minimum to have a nice time and a good meal.
Yeah.
And maybe keep it around there so you're not disappointed. And then, just remember up until a couple hundred years ago, we weren't really supposed to live this long.
That's
just,
true.
Just treat it like your birthday. That's my old man wisdom today.
I love it. What was your best birthday ever? Let me kind of turn the tables. Yeah.
The one that immediately comes to mind, just because it's sort of funny in the context of this show, and maybe the reason why we have this show is the reason this is funny. I had to work, but then I went to the Court Tavern in New Brunswick for my 21st birthday. And downstairs in the basement, Burning Airlines was playing. Great band. I was excited to see the show. But simultaneously on the TV was Yankees, I believe Diamondbacks, Game 4, I believe, on the TV. World Series game. So I went there. I was able to buy drinks, very cheap pitchers at the Court Tavern, of course, and never made it downstairs for Burning Airlines because I was too engrossed in the baseball and turning 21 and just kind of getting hammered. I showed up late anyway. So that was a nice one. That was fun. Yeah.
Man, my 21st. So this kind of show, I know on this pod I'm like the young person, but I was working Packers post-game show, so ringing it in from like the 8th to the 9th, Packers were playing Falcons Monday Night Football.
And you're so young. This is still Aaron Rodgers, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. You're too young. You are young.
No. But then after that, I trudged through the Wisconsin, Milwaukee snow, grabbed myself a nice High Life, and we're off to the races.
I mean, did you at least get yourself some curds?
Oh, always.
Some nice hot curds. Yeah. Hot curds on a cold Wisconsin night.
Oh, my goodness. And then that's why I drink nothing but smoothies now, because I got to get rid of that residual waste.
Yeah. A couple times a year, I'll get some curds.
I love it.
Special treat.
I have a quick tangent here. I don't like that New Jersey is trying to get into the curd game. I went to a restaurant the other day in the state, and they're trying to tell me that they have Wisconsin cheese curds. And guess what? They were just baby mozzarella sticks. Not okay.
Yeah, no. I know. So I know we could go for a while on this, but I'll keep it short too. I know what you're talking about. And I've seen kind of these high-end curd missions going on the East Coast. And I have had the same experience where you bite into it and you're like, that's not a curd. That's not a proper curd. It's too soft. It's too gooey. It's not doing the right stuff. So as I don't think I think it's too strong of a line, Denny, to say keep the curd out of New Jersey.
But
I don't like that, because let the good people of New Jersey enjoy this fine delicacy. But I do agree with you. If you're gonna do it, keep it real and get a real Wisconsin cheese curd in there. But you know what else keeps it real, Denny?
what? It's just in music history.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I love it. What do you got today?
Let's stay on the topic of cultural appropriation. New Jersey is trying to appropriate the Wisconsin cheese curd. And he will not have it.
I will not.
In 1978, the Blues Brothers
Wow.
released
Wow.
the first single, a cover of Soul Man. The original is by Sam and Dave. The Blues Brothers emulated to create their own. Now, we've been through this many times. I have no personal issue with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. It was a different time. This was their way of tipping a cap to something because we didn't totally understand appropriation yet, I guess. It doesn't sit great with me. And I'd like to put it down on wax again that I need a new Blues Brothers with non-white Blues Brothers, please. Someone make this film. It just
Or
needs to
male.
happen.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or super. Yeah. Why are I never even thought of that. Too many dudes in the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Goodness, it's true.
And I don't know if this
So
theory
all
is
these
right
movies
or not.
that needed reboots,
Yeah.
like this is one that actually needs one.
And also sometimes I think like women are like better dancers than men, like a lot of the time. So the fact that I mean, I don't think that's controversial.
I you know what? I don't know if it's controversial. I don't know if enough about dancing, but it sounded controversial. All I know is Denny's drawn some lines today.
No curds.
Male
Men can't
dancing.
dance.
Canceled. Get out of here. New
But-
Jersey cheese curds and male dancing canceled by Denny.
Oh, it's gonna get worse before it gets better today.
Oh,
But no, I think we need the Blues Brothers need a facelift, that's for sure. And one of these TikTokers that's just lives by the dancing, because the most important thing about a Blues Brother isn't the fact that they can like sing or like that they're on a mission from God. It's the dancing. It's the most important part of the Blues Brothers.
Okay. I'll go with that.
So, all right.
What do you got?
On this day, I've never been more excited for my this day music history ever. On this day in 2011, Bruce Springsteen got up on stage with you guys at Convention Hall to perform American Slang. I don't think anybody's talked about this ever, at least from what I could see on the interwebs. So what do you remember about that day? I saw that Danny, no, just kidding. What do you remember about that day?
That one was like pretty normal show day, really. And I haven't thought about this in a minute. You should have given me some, because if I ponder this thought for a minute, I'll probably come up with more. But yeah, I remember it being a pretty normal show day, and like this time, unlike some of the other times, we had known for a minute that this might happen and it's going to happen. We were mentally prepared and knew the day was coming, knew to get some gear ready. Like unlike the first time where we were just like scrambling. But it was one of those things. It's like it was the first time I think we had the opportunity after playing with him in Europe to do it back in the States, and we got to do it in Asbury. So it seemed like just like kind of okay, if this can happen, it should happen. Well, at least ask, and he was down. So, but yeah, I don't. Come back to me next week for maybe if you're looking for more of a lurid tale.
I love it
because I don't have one off the top of the dome.
A tune-up teaser, if you will.
Yeah,
so, well, yeah.
I do know he famously, if you ask Brian or Ian or one of them, apparently Bruce plays the guitar really hard, where like those like scratches on his pick guard that you see at like that's not somebody like sandpapering it making look cool. He actually like just plays his guitar that hard.
I love it. I feel like that's the only way too, because like if you're dancing around that thing, It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you gotta just fucking go for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's something, when you see somebody going like, like with like Pete or Townsend style, like, remember that's like the guitar equivalent of like stick flipping. There's
Yeah,
no actual reason to do that to your guitar. It probably makes it sound worse.
yeah.
But it looks fucking cool.
It does look fucking cool.
To me, it does. To a drummer, it looks cool. There's probably guitar players listening who find it the equivalent of the stick flip, which
Yeah,
I also find corny as fuck. So.
yeah. Oh, fun to do with pencils. Not so much when you're on stage and in front of people.
Hey,
But
some people rock it nice. That's the thing.
all right. Do you want to get the? It's not a chore to talk about this, but we got some serious news before we get into some fun things that we have on tap for today.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Benny. So, we've talked a bunch on this pod about the Brittney Griner story. This past week, she was released from Russian custody after being held there for almost 9 months on drug charges. She was released on Thursday from Russian prison in a 1-for-1 swap with notorious international arms dealer Victor Bout. Bringing an end to the ordeal that put Washington and Moscow in a quite the negotiating. I was trying to come up with something clever.
Just use the sports ones.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what happened.
And the worst part of this, but so Victor Bout, notorious arms dealer, we released him back to Russia. All this with the Ukraine war still looming very much between Russia and them. But Brittney Griner arrived in the U.S. early on Friday, landing at Kelly Field in San Antonio. Obviously, we're very happy that she's back. But Benny, what I wanted to get into with you is about the discourse about all this and how people are talking about it. And it's exactly what you just brought up. The way that the way Fleeced was trending and the way that people had brought up certain political talking points, when anybody in their right mind, if their loved one came back, would not matter who this country gave up for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's also and it's like like you're talking about, it's the sports commodification of people and things like this. Like, to me, the important I'm not going to get into a huge like geopolitical thing, because this is obviously like complicated, centuries complicated. They literally made a movie out of this dude. The thing that I think strikes me the most, beyond the do the crime, serve the time people who, like, only tend to say that when it's just a certain crime and a certain person almost exclusively all the time. So for the most part, they can also go fuck themselves. The thing that highlighted to me is like just the massive false equivalency of what happened here and the way people's lives are played with due to, chess masters geopolitical fucking games. Like, to think that we're on the center stage and Brittney Griner is being held in this center for something that is like painfully undangerous. You know what I mean? Like, an amount of this stuff, even if you sold it in Russia, you could sell to like one person. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't like some major haul. This was so clearly, obviously, one person carrying a little bit of like weed oil, which doesn't bother another human soul at all. This guy who you got back for was literally like famous for arming both sides of a conflict. They made that fucking movie Lord of War after him. Like, one of the most, I'm not going to get into like what this guy did. It's like the rap sheet and biographies that I have not read. But, like, let's strip everything aside here. Strip away politics, strip away sports. What did this person do? And what did the other person do? And why are we even talking about it like it's a real equivalency? And that's like part of the narrative I want to keep true. You start putting these layers on stuff like this, you forget that one person is painfully wrong, one person is not, and they're being used for something else. And I think that's like my biggest takeaway from this.
Yeah, and the it it's so complicated that I like the even idea of like the merchant of death guy. I heard people say, oh yeah, but this guy's like past his prime, like you're like acquiring Andre
Right.
Iguodala back
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
Warriors. So
Like Kemba Walker needs a
yeah.
job, you know? Yeah.
And you know, I think people try to do this when it's things that you can't wrap your mind around being a merchant of death. Like I don't think most people wake up and be like, oh, like stock market's up, the weather is this, and I'm gonna like just unload all of this. Like people can't comprehend that. It's like
and you know what I can comprehend? Smoking some hash oil.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially if
okay,
you're
I
like
don't
7
smoke
feet,
hash oil. I think it's bad for your throat, probably. But that's the worst thing you're doing with it. You're hurting your own throat. You know, like, and then there's literally, I don't know, what are we even talking about? It's so absurd when you just start breaking it down to its core, you know.
But what I wanted to ask you, because we are a sports program that talks about music and a music program that talks about sports, do you think we're going to see Griner play basketball again? Because I know that that's so. It doesn't matter in the context of this conversation, but for her to be able to mentally get back to a place where she can perform, I think that's an interesting that's going to be an interesting road back.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be, I mean, like everything about what's going to happen now for her is interesting. I mean, they showed that first video where a camera is like up in her face and fuck, she looked just shell shocked.
Yeah.
You know, like the way I see her right now is like Tom Hanks in Castaway when he came home. Like there's a lot of avenues, and I hope that basketball or not, they're just healthy and positive and get back to a good place, you know?
But shout out to everybody that made this happen. I know that could not have been easy. I can't imagine what negotiating like a people swap is like.
These are the times when I'm so glad I chose my life, you know? Yeah.
All right. Do you want to move on to some happier news? All right.
Please.
Well, you know, we've talked a bunch about this woman on the pod recently, and Benny, Taylor Swift is set to make her directorial feature debut. I don't know if I said that right. And this is the most important part. This isn't like some like big Universal movie. This isn't an MGM movie. It's Searchlight Pictures under the Disney umbrella that she already kind of had a deal with.
Yeah.
The pop sensation has penned an original script, so she wrote the thing, and it will be produced by the studio. Benny, I'm very excited about this. I actually got run over by her in complete entourage up there at TIFF. But she talked about her influence for like her movie influence from older movies like Love Story. Love that one, the Ally McGraw picture, and like a 17 Candles kind of thing. I'm excited what to expect from a Taylor Swift movie, especially coming out under the Searchlight thing. I think it's a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, this is great. It's fun. You know, it's funny. It's like sometimes, you know, when you know a lot of artists, the difference in the things you can accomplish is really your access. Like, do you know how many people I know who have movie scripts?
Yeah.
Like there's a few.
Yeah.
A half does. And, you know, credit to you, because like most of them don't get off your desk. You know what I mean? Like, and then you just have to sit there and go, you know, I wrote a movie script once too. And being Taylor Swift, you get to write your first movie script when you're just fucking around. And because of this, of course, it's going to get bought and produced by Searchlight Pictures and probably like have something really cool behind it. So, you know, that's I guess a fun part of being Taylor Swift is that like any artistic endeavor that you can think, you will get the full and ultimate backing for, which rules. You know what's cool about Taylor here?
What's
only 32.
I know.
And, you know, this is a heck of her career and, you know, a lot of weight behind her hands already, you know, at this age and going into these many different directions. Like, I'm excited to follow Queen Taylor as she moves up and starts working through stuff. Do we know? So this is a romantic picture. Is it a romantic comedy?
I don't know.
Just like a straight romance.
There have been no details about what the story actually is.
She going to be in it, you think?
I feel like
She might put
that's
herself in it.
I feel like that's a hard thing to do, but here's where I think for Searchlight this makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, we've seen uh movie after movie fail this year that like they put a lot of stock in. I mean, like we just saw The Rock's Black Adam is going to lose a lot of money, and that's a comic book movie. Um I think "Don't Worry, Darling," which is the Olivia Wilde movie, had a lot of gossip and drama and stuff like that. That movie, I think, barely broke even. So I think the hope here from Searchlight is that who gets people more excited and out of their seat than Taylor Swift, and I think that that's what they're going to bring in. But whether she's going to be in it or not, I think that changes everything. She was very good in Amsterdam, and I've said that many times on the podcast. You can watch that video on demand right now. But I don't know. Does she want to do that? Because that's hard. That's hard to direct yourself.
It is. Well, I mean, she didn't say she was going to direct.
Yeah, it
You know,
is.
so so
Yeah.
this is the direct. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she's probably not going to be in it.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that part of it.
So.
Okay. All right, moving on. But Queen Taylor.
Can't
Can't
shout
wait.
out to you.
Can't
Keeping
wait
it
to
real.
see. I hope her fans get some class action money from Ticketmaster.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we wanted to keep it lighter today, but
Yeah.
justice for all these people. All right, Benny, we have a departure of sorts to talk about today. Trevor Noah has ended his daily show with tenure. He did the last episode on Thursday. Noah came after Jon Stewart, who famously led the show to its the great heights, stepped down, and Jon Stewart kind of led America through like 9/11, the conflicts in the Middle East. Noah, had his opportunity to shine with COVID, doing the shows from home, the Black Lives Matter protests, and all of this stuff, and brought, where Stewart was intellectual, but kind of bombastic. I always thought that Noah was intellectual and a little bit more subdued, and I think that's why if you found it and you rocked with it, he was your guy. But like it didn't have as broad of mainstream heights as the Jon Stewart show. But nuance in this age is a rare thing, especially to bring on cable television. So, Benny, where did you land on the Trevor Noah era?
I always liked it.
Yeah.
I did. Like, I never, I was skeptical at first just because, like most people, I really didn't know much about Trevor Noah when he started the job. And I quickly grew to like him. It's a very likable personality and vibe. Obviously, like, super smart. And then as the years went on, I think it was just more of a result of me watching less scroll around TV than I did in the Jon Stewart era. I kind of lost the narrative of sitting down and watching the Daily Show all the time. But anytime there was like a critical issue, particularly with like, civil rights and police brutality and, things like that, I definitely looked to him as like a voice that I respected to listen to. And I think he was quite good at doing that thing Jon Stewart did, which was contextualizing like an awful situation into a way that's moderately funny and finding like some sliver of something in it, that's maybe like positive or critical of the right people. And I hope he like remains that voice. Maybe I was wondering, maybe the best access to having that voice for someone like that is not being the host of the Daily Show anymore.
Yeah.
So, maybe he's to a point leaving the format behind, but I hope him as a voice and an entertainer like sticks around because I'm a fan.
Yeah. No, nuanced guy. Love his vibe, love his energy, and all of that stuff. But this is another huge loss for Comedy Central. Who boy, Comedy Central in 2022 compared to like Comedy Central.
Yeah, what do
like
they have now? What's
nothing? Yeah.
What's on the Comedy Central
I have
roster
no idea.
currently? I don't even know. Yeah.
I don't even know if they still replay the Workaholics. Do you remember that show? Like Adam
Yeah.
Devine.
I mean, to think that there was an hour of television on Comedy Central that was like critical news programming, sort of, for people, between Colbert and Stewart. It's pretty fascinating. It's going to be like an interesting thing to tell the next generation about because they're not going to understand the concept of what we were doing, sort of, you know?
Yeah. I hope in terms of replacement, I hope they give my guy Roy Wood Jr. a look, because the crazy thing about some of the correspondence that they have now, we've had Roy on the radio like a bunch, like right when he was starting at like the Daily Show and like stuff like that. And man, you want to talk about a funny guy who would go right in that lineage? Roy is the man, dude.
But wait, what if Comedy Central, let me offer this pivot.
Yeah.
What if they go the other way? There's a lot of old, like, night show hosts who are free agents currently.
Okay.
The free agent market is thick for night show hosts. Like, you could go out right now and make an offer to Conan.
Oh.
You could make an offer to James Corden. You know, you could make an offer to a lot of these people who have recently.
Craig Kilborn.
Maybe not that one. But yeah, like I think maybe that's the pivot for Comedy Central and the Daily Show if they want to like get some legs behind this thing again. Because at this point, I think the Daily Show property, just the name, is bigger than any host they could bring up from the annals of the show. So I'd say I'd give Conan a call.
Give Conan's Daily Show. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd watch it. I'd check it out.
He just signed. He's my coworker now, so you know he's got some TV legs to stretch, if you will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, you heard it here first.
Oh, Benny, do you want to talk about bringing a blast from the past, if you will?
I do. I hope it has something to do with Jackie Chan.
Oh, it does. Jackie Chan made a rare on-stage appearance at the Red Sea Film Festival on Thursday, where he told fans that he is currently in talks to make a fourth Rush Hour movie. He said, "We're talking about part 4 right now." He did not add about any details of the script, including director. The director, Brett Ratner, who did the first 3, has wound up in a little bit of trouble during the Me Too era. So we're not sure that we're going to get him back, but there's plenty of really good comedy directors right now, especially if you look in TV. So, but that aside, Rush Hour 4, what do you think?
I'm here for whatever ridiculousness they come out of that. Like, we talk about this a lot in this program, is the types of expectations you should have for movies. And if Rush Hour 4 is coming out, my expectations are subterranean. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way this movie could disappoint me. Just put them in it.
Yeah.
Just make it over the top. Really go heavy-handed and lean into the fact that you're Rush Hour 4, and I'll probably love it, because that's the kind of movie it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think the biggest part of this article that I didn't realize was Jackie Chan getting accidentally hit by Bruce Lee. Did you hear this part of the story?
Yeah.
So he got hit by Bruce Lee when they were filming a scene when he was merely a stunt double. He apparently like played into it like he was hurt more than he was, and Bruce Lee was very like sympathetic all day long. And then he got a bunch more movies out of it because he like played into it and started getting bread as the next Bruce Lee. So that was a pretty interesting part of the story. He like wanted Bruce Lee to hit him, and it helped his career, you know? There's not a lot of people that famous that you get famous if you get hit by them. It's pretty much like Mike Tyson and him, you know?
He went all personal injury lawyer on Bruce Lee, and his career just
kind of. He really played. It seems like he really played into Bruce Lee's empathy there, you know?
Oh, man.
Which, as a guilt-ridden person, I do resent a little Jackie Chan. You know?
But a lot of people talking about this movie, and you know, the fact that culturally there was some problems when they did the first few, but it's like, I think that there's like a really clever way to like do a wink and a nod to, hey, that was the 90s and this is now.
Or you kind of go 48 hours with it, where you're just like, one of them admits, hey, like back in the 90s, I was kind of racist. I didn't get it. Sorry. You know?
Oh, man. Boy, this podcast today, let me just tell you, like, it's very 90s centric. Because guess what we're going to talk about now? We talked about Rush Hour, and now we're going to talk about Deion Sanders.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
Neon Deion. They still call him that?
Coach Prime, Neon Deion, is heading to Colorado. Deion Sanders will be the next coach of the next football coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. The school announced last Saturday, instantly making him one of the most compelling hires of the offseason, and perhaps in this generation of college football with the transfer portal, it makes everything very interesting. Sanders comes after 3 years of coaching Jackson State. Tigers 12-0, completed an undefeated season last Saturday with a 43-24 win over Southern in the SWAC championship. Coach Prime has made a name for himself more as like a media property and going viral, but he also has a 12-0 12-0 season under his belt too. What do you make of Coach Prime bolting a HBCU for the green pastures of Colorado?
You know, my first instinct was a little confused, and I think like, he went undefeated this season, put himself fully back on the map. And at first I'm like, oh, I thought like Dion was going to like, save this conference and like bring like, eyes back here and like build it into this thing. And he would be like the king of it. And then you sit on it, you remember, oh, wait, this is Deion Sanders. Like, this is the same dude who, like, played in a football game and a playoff baseball game in the same day. Like, this guy's not, like, doing anything that's not, like, ascending to the absolute top, right?
Yeah.
And he's young, and he just had this massively successful season. And I think he just sees, even though Colorado, they've sucked for a couple years now. Like not a good program, but he sees an opportunity to go coach in the Pac-10, right?
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden you're in the same conference as Arizona,
USC.
Washington, Utah, Stanford, USC, Oregon State, UCLA, the Arizonas, like, these are power schools for a lot of these. Not, it's not SEC or something, but if all of a sudden next year Colorado, wins a few of these marquee, Pac-12 games, and then gets into a bowl game, and there's this turnaround, then all of a sudden he's ascended to a much higher point than he was last year. And what's the next logical step after that?
NFL. Dallas Cowboys.
Kind of, right? Yeah. Like, I think that's what he's aiming for. And so, if he can go from like the first college job he had, being there for only a couple years, making it undefeated, doing the same thing at Colorado in maybe a couple years, and they get into the NFL, I think this is what he is trying to ascend to. And the idea that he was going to keep coaching there, have a couple grind out good seasons down there and wait for the right job and stuff is very un-Deion Sanders. So like at first I didn't like it. And then about 12 hours later, it was totally predictable and I loved it.
What a massive win for Colorado in this age of conference realignment, because we're moving to two conferences. You have Deion, you have a winning program. If it is going to be the SEC and the Big Ten are the two conferences, your ticket's right there, and you probably boosted the amount of revenue share that you're going to get. So for Colorado, home run, absolutely. A lot of people not thrilled about this because they bought into, they bought into Deion's words about, oh, I'm here to like build up HBCU football. Yeah. Man, how long have we known this guy in the public consciousness?
Exactly.
He is not a liar, but and I'm not saying that at all, but I just have to say, like, if a guy comes in and says that he's on this mission from God,
exactly.
I mean, not to bring up the Blues Brothers again, but you got to be a little leery here.
It's like that line that I quite like from The Big Short, which is, he's so transparent in his own self-interest that I kind of trust him. Yeah. That's what I feel about Deion Sanders. Yeah. Like, come on, what were you thinking? And the one thing I'm happy about, at least, is that, these transfer portals are legitimate now. NIL is on the table. And the kids who did maybe get duped by some of this, the kids who went to Jackson State and the kids who are going to get kicked the fuck off Colorado, which is definitely going to happen. Yeah. At least there's options for these kids now. They're not like totally against the wall.
Yeah. And I mean, as we've seen with USC this year, you can pick up a program like Lincoln Riley. He just took up Oklahoma, moved it to USC, and next thing you know, you're in the college football playoff conversation. So Deion can definitely do that. The amount of people that would be excited to play for him at a D1 school, absolute home run.
Yeah, 100%.
And we don't want to get into the parts that we're not qualified to talk about with this, with the Deion Sanders stuff. I know like a lot of people have talked about what this means for HBCU football going forward. That's not really our bag, but
yeah. Well, you just said home run, so
yeah.
that's a nice
Oh,
transition, huh,
oh
pal?
my goodness. One day you're going to host a show and I can sit back and comment. All right. Aaron Judge is staying in the Bronx. The superstar slugger, reigning AL MVP, is reportedly signing back up with the New York Yankees on a 9-year, $360 million deal. That, according to multiple reports. Benny, got to just tee it up like this. What does this mean for the Yankees, and what does this mean for Aaron Judge?
I mean, winner and winner, winner, chicken dinner. Like what it means for the Yankees. They got their guy. Hal did the thing he was supposed to do, which was put in the offer, get more money on the table to get it done. It's in the basic narrative that Judge took less money to come back to New York, which will immediately give him G. Terrian like eminence over the New York Yankees for a while, because I think as a Yankees fan, sometimes you expect people to kind of use you a little bit. You're the this is one time someone's like, oh, Aaron Judge is our guy, came up through our system. I heard about Aaron Judge years before he came before the Yankees, before he got up to the big leagues. And then he had that crazy rookie season. And you're like, oh no, is this guy ever going to be like who you thought he was going to be? And then he has this season. Like, I need to see how this narrative played out in a Yankees uniform. And I'm super glad I get to do it, because it's sort of those like generationally cool sports things that you don't get a lot, Jay-Z said it best. Like, the Yankee hat is a thing.
Cooler than a Yankee can. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, so I love that. And then for the Yankees, again, winners. Like, sure, they overpaid. Whoever was gonna get him was going to have to overpay, and that was the market. But they got their guy. He's back. The Yankees were gonna look really thin without Judge on that roster. I mean, you go through and looking at their depth, and you're hoping some kids make a jump and stuff. But so as a Yankees fan, I'm like, good, that's done. I'm immediately moving on to like what needs to be done to make this a World Series contending team. And they brought back Rizzo. They have a deal on the table for Tommy Kahnle, like, nice relief, but they already lost Talion. And the Yankees got some work to do to put Judge in a position to win now, which is, all he owes you now is what? A respectable batting average, 40 plus home runs and 100 plus RBIs every year for the next 5 years. That's what you just bought. And you got to put that on a team that can win.
So what does that look like? What are the Yankees' next steps here?
I mean, it's tough to see, there's a lot of positions in the Yankees where they do have young players who are fairly ready to step into prominent roles, the Oswaldos, and, you hear more and more about Anthony Volpe being ready and a couple arms being ready. But so you kind of hope right now for that mix of, veteran leadership and rookies and young players getting better. And that's a fun thing as a Yankees fan, because, often we're tied to just like these giant contracts and people living up to those contracts. And we actually have a chance to see some young players get better. But that being said, with some of the moves other teams are making, particularly in the National League, if you want to get through to the World Series, more than likely it's going to take something more than that. Verlander's off the table, DeGrom's off the table, Bogarts, Turner. So all the real big swinging dicks are off the table. And, Yankees got to get clever filling out this roster.
How would you is Correa still on the market? How would you feel about that addition? Even though
I'd feel fine about that, but I think because of his name, I have a feeling Correa is going to get a pretty mega deal that the Yankees aren't willing to spend after that. If I was to see the Yankees spend some money right now, I think it would be more on Dansby Swanson. But you're still going to have to pay that guy a lot of money. And there are people in the Yankees farm system, really ready to come in and take over some infield positions, especially short. So I think you really got to look to the starting rotation more than anything. That's the thing where there's still a couple names out there. Carlos Rodon's still out there. Yankees want to throw money that way. I wouldn't mind. And I think that's the way you got to fill out the roster right now. And I mean, really, these Josh Donaldson, Aaron Hicks spots in the lineup are to me dead spots that could use a little work at this point too. So if we can alter those spots in the Yankees roster, I would love it.
So if you had your druthers, are you investing, like if you had to pick one, are you investing in the rotation or do you want to bolster those dead spots?
If I had one or the other, I'm investing in the rotation, and at the very least, I got a bunch of kids to root for. And when you lose rooting for kids who are ascending, it feels a lot better,
Yeah. That's kind of that's been such a weird decade for the Yankees of pretty much doing this. Like we've been doing this for almost 10 years now, like rooting for these like young kids that come up and take the jump. And you know what? The Judge thing worked out, but for every Judge you have a Gary Sanchez who's playing somewhere else. So time will tell if that will be enough to get Judge the talent he needs to bring a championship to the Bronx. But
that's right.
Let's turn our attention to the winter meetings, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
Benny, aside from the Judge contract, what was your favorite move from the winter meetings?
There's a couple of smaller moves that I thought were quite good, especially the early moves. I liked what the Angels were doing, signing Tyler Anderson on a very modest deal to help out the starting rotation, and then adding Gio Urshela and someone else, couple real like just major league ready players who they desperately need. So the Angels made some nice moves. I love, Cleveland makes a little run last year. Everyone forgets it's a really young team. It would have been easy to kind of just sit there, and they signed Josh Bell, who's really a pro hitter, an underrated hitter, to a very reasonable 2-year deal to fill out that roster. And I like that instead of backing off, they're kind of still keeping their foot on the gas. The Mets, I'm a little torn on both ways, because I quite like bringing back Verlander at that 2-year deal to replace DeGrom. DeGrom, it seems, was out regardless. I think from all indications, DeGrom's a little bit of a good old boy and was kind of done with New York. So I don't think there is any money they could have given him to stay commuting to Queens every day, which I don't think he liked. So I liked replacing with Verlander, but then some of the other moves I really like. I'm a Brandon Nimmo fan. Yeah. I mean, he's a really nice player, and I root for him, and I take him onto my fantasy teams. But fuck, 8 years, $162 million for Brandon Nimmo, who's like never hit 20 home runs, never batted 300, never won a Gold Glove, never done anything, and he's already 30. So I think the biggest thing I'm taking from the winter meetings is how thin this outfield market is, and the gross overpays by the Mets and also the Red Sox and this Japanese player. There's been a couple signings to me that scream desperation. And there is, it's like, as the NBA is ready to bring 2 more teams into the league because the talent pool is really that thick. And there's so many useful players on every NBA team that you could see them expanding 2 more teams. I think the opposite is happening in baseball, and you have this just thinning talent pool, and these teams and operations with a massive amount of money. They're like, please let me spend it. Who do I even spend it on? And the markets get so inflated because of that. And man, I think you're looking at some serious blowback deals from all of this. Oh, and the biggest fuck you deal I've seen in all of this is the St. Louis Cardinals, have had one of the greatest catchers in arguably the history of baseball for the last like 20 plus years. Yadier Molina retires. And who do they replace him with? But their arch rivals starting catcher, Contreras, on a 5-year deal for for like $85 million. He's a great hitter. The new DH rules are really going to help him. And I think he's really going to thrive in St. Louis. And I'm thinking about that lineup with Goldschmidt and him and Arenado and some of the youth. And the Cubs are one of those teams that I think is going to really regret their offseason once they get out. They lost Contreras, gave Cody Bellinger nearly $20 million on sort of a flyer deal, took Talion from the Yankees on 4 years, who's, mid-range pitcher. So I think I'm seeing like the Cubs and the Red Sox as the losers so far. The Mets to be determined. And come on, who's the big winner? Yankees. You got Judge. Come on.
All right. So who is the most interesting player who didn't sign yet, and where do you see them going?
Yeah, I think Rodon moves the needle the most right now, as far as just like that's someone you can slide immediately into a number 1 or number 2 rotation slot. I think he's going to get big money. The Giants obviously want to spend, and no one wants to go there yet. So I think there's a good chance he goes there. And then, we're sort of waiting on the Carlos Correa and Dansby Swanson markets to fall, and that's kind of going to trickle the rest off. But I think the Giants, excuse me, are really looking to make a splash and kind of struck out on everybody so far. So I'm kind of liking Carlos Correa to the Giants right now.
And 2 other teams that we got to get to here. The Padres obviously won the offseason last year. What'd you like that they did, and where could they use some work?
I love what they did. I mean, this is like the Padres are like a video game baseball team. They're basically like, this guy was AJ Preller. He literally runs the team like I would run a video game team. It's like, oh shit, Xander, I don't care what it costs. Like, what does it matter? It's a video game. Get him on here. So the thing, as just a fan of baseball, the idea that I get to watch a lineup next year with Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Xander Bogaerts is awfully exciting and fun. And I'm glad I'm not in the National League right now and have to get through that lineup on a regular basis. I mean, currently only one team has ever had 4 players with an above 6 WAR. Do you know what that team is? The 1927 Yankees.
I thought so.
Murderers Row. So the last time on paper somebody put together 4 bats, or not even just bats, impact players, because these are just good players all around, defensively too. So this could be like a real stunning, cool thing. And I love the way San Diego's running their team, because I'm not a San Diego fan and I don't have to worry about their bill, but I get to watch them play,
And then we got to, real quick, just talk about the Red Sox. Last year, was a season to forget for them. What do you like what they do? What kind of grade do you give the boys in Boston?
I think they're in that position where they had money. They want to improve. They probably knew they were going to lose Bogaerts, and they went in on some stuff. Like, I like the signing of Kenley Jansen. I mean, it's a lot of money, giving $16 million a year to a pretty old closer, but Jansen is at this point, among, start put him in the top 10 best closers in history of baseball statistically, and especially in some of his postseason work. So I like that deal, but I hate the deal they gave to the kid from Japan, the outfielder. I mean, it's hard to gauge that stuff, but you just so rarely see that play out in the way it should. And there were some other names there that would have been kind of safer options. You see the way this kid is projecting, and projects like a nice player, but not a player worth that money. And then they lost Bogaerts. So, and this is shortly after losing Mookie Betts and a lot of other impact players. I think there's a little bit of trouble in Red Sox land.
Music to my absolute ears. All right. Plenty of ways to get in contact with the show. You can email us at thetuneuppodcast@gmail.com. 2 P's in there. If you want to follow us on all the social platforms, we're at the Tune Up HQ on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. We're there. Guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel. A lot of great stuff coming there. Some web exclusives. You don't want to miss out on any of that. And be sure to follow the big man, Benny Horowitz, on Instagram. At Deny Gallagher. Benny, you got anything else?
Let's have a good week, Denny.
Yeah.
Let's treat every day like our birthday, huh?
Let's treat it like our birthday.
Happy birthday,
Oh,
Denny.
I'm gonna
Have a
party
nice
like
day. Come on.
The show has
Enjoy
ended,
yourself.
but today's just getting started. You've been listening to and watching the Tune Up.